Strong Town's approach, abolish it. Everywhere you possibly can, abolish it. Now, that's a big ask for a lot of folks. But in smaller towns, this should not be that complicated. We just learned in Vermont. Vermont passed a regulatory tool within their communities that if you abolish parking minimums, you get a check on the box for kind of the regional planning piece. So John's going to be writing about this and sharing some of the incredible stuff that one of our local conversations did there. But here's like a tool that you could go to every small town in Vermont that the state says, hey, if you abolish this, so you just make it so parking is optional for your developments, you get a check on the box. And I think of all the things you could choose, it was like the easiest thing to do. You weren't having to build, it has to do with kind of environmental stuff. So you weren't having to build a big stormwater pond. You weren't reconstructing a street. You were taking one line out of your code and putting a line through it. So there is a state agency that's provided the text and every community can adopt it. So I really abolish it. In smaller steps to that, I wrote a piece about parking more than a number. So how you account for that. And again, that's applying small town principles. So if you actually look to see how much parking is around a site, your professional staff at a municipality should be able to say, hey, there's already 12 spaces here. We don't need you to build 12 more spaces. We can utilize those. And you can observe it and see what works and let that occur. The other thing that I'm surprised more people aren't doing, and it's probably because you don't know. So here's like a secret for everybody.
Okay.
You're familiar with development applications for municipalities, right? You want to build something, you draw it up, you submit an application, it goes through the process of the planning commission, you genuflect, goes to the council, they review it, you kiss some rings, and it, development gets approved. Good, bad, ugly, destructive, positive, all of that goes through. Every zoning ordinance and every code of ordinances in every city charter usually provides a process for citizens to submit changes to ordinances. Just like you approve development, you can change ordinances. So big developers do this all the time. They go in, they want to change all different types of doodads within the code. Our membership in Strong Towns, and we've got these resources about abolishing the minimums. What you should do is take your code and basically X out the parking requirement or provide some other tools in there to account for it. Or we're working with one community action lab now. They have, I think it's like 18 or 19 categories for parking. So like, is this parking for a theater where it's by seats? Is it for a church by pew? I mean, it was all these wacky numbers. There's ways to consolidate that. And I think most smaller communities are always looking for things to streamline and simplify their code because the dirty secret is most planners just go and they Google an ordinance and they adopt it. But as a membership, I think you can propose edits to the code with strike through and underline code text, submit it to your municipality, and you go through a process just like you do for development to advocate for those changes. And you can do that. A lot of communities, I work with lots of staff and in the municipalities, if the public's coming forward with a desire to do something, it gets ears and it will probably get legs. So I think small towns are easier because you can have a cup of coffee with the mayor. There's probably only one person on staff. It's kind of a little bit easier, but don't hesitate to bring those forward. So that's kind of the secret, that there's opportunities out there for you to write and propose an ordinance to your community. We have lots of examples. We can direct you to those examples and take them forward and process them. It's not that difficult to do. Don't be afraid to hear no a bunch of times. You can be persistent and get those through, especially in a smaller community where you may know the people that are on council or have the ability to get their ear, and they're probably business owners that don't want to deal with this issue, and you're providing them an avenue to do something great in your community.
Yeah, that's really insightful. Yeah, and thinking about like community size and Yeah, right. Like these people are our neighbors, and if we share a place that we call home and we're able to connect over that, it can be a really powerful tool to kind of reframe how we engage one another.